Greetings adventurers and welcome back to Abnormal Voyages. My name is David and today we find ourselves in Waco, Texas at the Waco Mammoth National Monument. We're going to head out into the woods here and see if we can find ourselves some mammoths. So tag along and let's see what we can dig up.
We're going to a place that you've never heard of before. It's Abnormal Voyages. You're gonna learn something new. We're gonna open new doors. It's Abnormal Voyages.
Though this site didn't become an official national monument until 2015, it was discovered all the way back in 1978. Today, these fossil specimens represent the nation's first and only recorded evidence of a nursery herd of Ice Age Columbian mammoths.
Definitely a gorgeous day for a hike. It was a really nice little walk. And we've now reached the area that they're actually digging in. Let's check it out.
The most exciting thing about these fossils is that you can actually go to the dig site and see them in the ground.
So the first mammoth bone was actually found here in 1978, and soon afterwards they were scrambling to find all the other ones. There was a ton of them here to be found, and eventually they built this dig shelter here that encases the actual site to protect it from the elements.
Once inside, there is no doubt that the mammoth is the star of the show. There's beautiful paintings covering the walls, giant murals of what these majestic beasts may have looked like as they roamed the wilds of Texas. And then, when you turn your attention to the center of the room, you see what you came for. Actual mammoth fossils just waiting to be recovered from the earth. Now, your typical mammoth could stand as tall as 14 feet and weigh up to 20,000 pounds. That is just crazy big. Part of what makes this particular site so special is that it was a nursery herd, something not found before, and it contained the remains of over 20 different mammoths. The prevailing theory is that all these mammoths died together at the same time due to some kind of sudden natural disaster. Most likely, a flash flood of some sorts happened to catch these guys at just the wrong time. Very sad. However, in their day, these mammoths would have lived all over North America, all the way from the southern part of Canada down as far as Costa Rica. So these guys were pretty prevalent. You could find them most places. The monument sits on an area that is about 100 acres worth of land. So who knows what else there may be to find out there. But this is kind of the focal point, at least of what they want to show people and have the public come in to see. Here are some examples of tools that the archaeologists used to carefully dig up these ancient wonders from the ground. And interestingly enough, mammoth bones are not the only bones that they've found here. They actually have bones that show there was possibly a camel that was kind of hanging out with the mammoths and got caught in that same flood, and even possibly a juvenile saber-toothed tiger. Being a nursery herd, the majority of the mammoths here were either very young juvenile mammoths or female mammoths. However, they did find the remains of one large male bull mammoth as well here. While of course we couldn't go down into the dig site and actually touch the bones or any of the things, they did a great job of presenting it so that you could see it really well. They had a balcony area that went around the top, and you were able to look down into the site and see exactly what an archaeologist would see as they were coming into work to clean up these bones and get them ready for excavation. A majority of these bones were the actual mammoth bones. However, there are other ones that had been excavated and taken over to the local museum here in Waco, Texas. A lot of little touches not only gave you some information about what pieces were that archaeologists would use, but they did a great job of showing that it was an active site, with little notes in places, clipboards, just things that they would have been using as they prepared more of these fossils and hopefully managed to dig up some new ones. Some days, you're even able to get a tour from one of the scientists that's working with this archaeological site. It is a great chance to learn a lot more about these creatures and have all your questions answered. Now, this particular skull was a replica of a female skull, and I was just blown away by how amazing it looked, that these creatures used to be alive. And then here was a replica of one of their typical femur bones, very, very large, though I guess that makes sense considering they were pretty much large, furry elephants. And this smaller bone here is one of our femur bones, just to give you some scale. And then one edge was totally devoted to a little laboratory of sorts where bone specimens and dirt samples could be brought up, looked at under a microscope, taken inventory, and really just processed for whatever it is that they wanted to do or any information they needed to find out of these specimens. Looking at things like this, it's sometimes easy to forget that at one point these bones were not only living creatures, but all the work that goes into getting them out of the ground and having them presentable to the public in the way that we see them in museums, in TV shows, and all of that. Back outside, we were able to head over to the main center, where they had a little bit set up that could show you the differences between Columbian mammoths, woolly mammoths, and then the African and Asian elephants that we, of course, are more familiar with. As you can see, Columbian mammoths are the biggest ones. And then there was a display set up with all kinds of different replica bones that you could see really up close and all the detail behind them and just a better feel of what you had just seen in the ground. I really enjoyed this part. It was great getting to have that more up close and personal feel, even if these weren't the exact bones. Though that makes sense, you wouldn't want to have them out for everybody to touch and mess up. This was the saber tooth here, a replica of the one that they had found near it. And again, super cool that these were even in this area. Well, my name is David, and this has been Abnormal Voyages. Thanks for tagging along. We'll see you in the next one.